Good morning. My name is Victoria Marwa Heilman. I am an architect practicing in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. First of all, I just want to thank you so much for inviting me and for giving me this platform where I could share my work and what we are doing in Tanzania, specifically when we are looking at this theme, building beyond borders. So today I'm interested to talk about social inclusion as we discuss cross-border building projects done by Tanzania Women Architects for Humanity in Tanzania. I studied architecture at the University of Dar es Salaam here in Tanzania, then at Catholic University of America in Washington, D.C., and I completed my doctorate at the University of Stuttgart in Germany. So my journey in these three continents, searching for architecture, has exposed me to a number of cutting-edge technologies and knowledge that I believe I was able to share with my students at the University when I was teaching. So I taught in the School of Architecture at the University from 2001 to 2018. That's when I decided to pursue my passion. But I think what I'm mostly doing at the moment within TAWAH, I think it stemmed up from where I grew up. I grew up in Dar es Salaam in a two-bedroom apartment with 8 siblings plus my parents. And often we have a relative or two from our home village staying with us so they can also get access to good schools in the city. But now looking back and thinking that it was the time that has taught me the importance of sharing resources, going beyond our comfort zone to support one another. And when I was teaching at the university, I was also working as a volunteer with Habitat for Humanity in Tanzania. So my work with Habitat for Humanity in Tanzania, mostly in the rural part of Tanzania, had really helped me to develop a better understanding of how poor communities struggle to cope with scarcity. And I realized that architecture can play a role in easing the burdens of people struggling to get by, people living in extreme poverty, children with special needs, and orphans and women. So today I would like to share my work with our organization called TAWAH. TAWAH was established 2010 and we registered in 2011, and we've been working in a number of different regions in Tanzania. And one of some few highlights projects that I wanted to share today, we're focusing more on promoting inclusive learning environment and also the projects that we did to improve traditional houses. And another project was about affordable houses for flood victims in Dar es Salaam and access to quality education for girls. And another one program that we just started, is running for 1 year for women empowerment, graduate women empowerment program so these are the main projects that I would like to talk about today. Our basic or main approach to all the projects that we are doing in our organization is that wherever we are going, we want to partner with communities. We're trying our best to avoid that notion that, oh, they're here, they're building or constructing something, and then when we leave, they don't really take the ownership of that project. So we partner with them from the beginning of the project, from the design to construction to decision in material and construction techniques. And our client, I'll say most of our projects are very simple projects. We're dealing with clients who really do not have any money. So we also take the responsibility to raise funds to promote, to construct these projects. And then through construction and the build process, we also promote social inclusion of these marginalized communities. So we create platforms where we have like awareness campaign or trainings and discussion on a number of issues within that community. And facilitating ownership for these projects, we want to work with the community, build their capacity for self-help, so in the future they continue working in many other projects in their community. But above all that, we use our technical know-how on how to employ sustainability, environmental friendly. We look at cost-effective design and construction techniques that can be employed in the projects that we're doing. So the project I want to touch on is the classrooms building project for children with special needs in Tanga. Tanga is a region not too far from Dar es Salaam where we are. It's about 6-7 hours drive to that place called Pongwe. But this school is a primary school. It's a government school, and it was established in 1949. And in addition to educating non-special needs students, it also taken a role to serve children with albinism who are often blind or partially like partially sight impaired students. And with the wave of albino killing in Tanzania in 2010, so this has become like one of the homes for children with albinism who cannot go or stay at home because of their safety. But this school faces a number of challenges. And when we got there, we saw by ourselves and we discussed with them. But one of the foremost challenge they have is insufficient number of classrooms. And the problem of a lack of classroom is more because of dilapidated conditions of the existing classrooms that were constructed more than half a century ago. So for us, we wanted to improve this condition, this environment where our kids are learning, and some of the kids with special needs, this is their home. So that was our main concern. But the way we approach or the way we do our work is that we want to involve everybody. So we started with the kids themselves. So we had sessions where we could talk with them and discuss the challenges they face in their classrooms, their dormitories, in the school environment. So we uncovered so many information that some of them we couldn't come up with or we couldn't figure it out by just looking at it. So the kids, when they're talking and we're listening to them, I think it all really helped us to sharpen our design. We also talked about how they want to see the new classrooms. They will give us information about, oh, we want more air in the classroom. We want to be able to move from one point to another without somebody else holding my hand. So we figured like really need to have a more inclusive environment for all the kids who are in this school. And we had a number of discussions until to the most part we're also talking about we were listening to them actually. What do they want to be when they grow up? What are their plans for what they want to see or do in the future and things like that. So that way, our children felt like they were also heard, they are valued, they have a contribution and a say to whatever is we are developing which is for them. So that is one approach that we took, and we established art club with them because we realized some of the kids who are staying there and after school they don't really have any programs that keep them busy or something that they can also learn. So we started the art club and they enjoyed working on that project. And while we are building in that process, we also involve parents and teachers. We conduct different sessions. We wanted to talk about the challenges that children are facing or challenges that, even at home. What we realized that most of the parents, they have children with albinism, but they don't really know what it is and how they could work with the support their children. So we partnered with an organization called Under the Same Sun. It's an international organization working with specifically children with albinism. So they came and conduct these discussions on the discrimination and marginalization and the hardship that these kids are facing. So that was, for us, we take this as a very important factor in the construction process because besides building infrastructure, we also want to build communities, communities who understand and tolerate one another. And when it comes to decision on the building materials and how to construct these structure, the design, construction techniques, we also have, we had a number of discussions with the teachers, with the local government authority, because before you implement any project, we have to get a building permit. And that building permit, there are some standards design that are given out by the Ministry of Education, like how classrooms should be built and what material. There are specifications of material. For example, for classrooms, they specify that we need to use sand cement bricks. So for us coming in, we said, okay, we feel like we don't want to use sand cement. We want to use clay soil, which is locally available. And by doing so, we also cut down the cost of constructing these classrooms. And if we can show that the cost is being cut maybe for a half or so, it will also help schools to adopt that kind of construction and build more classrooms, because there are some regions kids are studying, they study under the tree, but there are cheaper ways of doing things. So initially, the use of clay soil was not really accepted that easy. But after some time, lots of discussions, showing them examples, and we had to produce some bricks, and it was taken for testing, and then they realized that, oh, it's the strength is more or less similar to a sand cement brick. And then eventually they accepted for us to use clay soil that was sourced in, and bricks were produced at the school. So here you'll see some teachers were also participating in the production of bricks, and we have youth from the community. They also came and participated in the production process. And this way also for us, we take it like we're some, in one or another, we're also transferring this knowledge to the youth groups in the area. So if they can also organize themselves, maybe they get support to get a machine, since the clay soil is there locally available. So they could also come up with the income generative activities for them as well. So communities were involved in so many ways. For this one, when we were constructing now these classrooms, we invited high school girls to come and work with us on the site for a day or two. So we had, this is an Islamic high school in Tanga, they came. And this way they get exposure in the construction process. They get exposure on what we are doing to that community, to their community, because we came from different regions and we went to their community to do something. So it also teaches them that you could also do something in your own community. And they will also get a better understanding of what architecture is and what construction is. So we had students from a high school in Tanga. We had students from RV University who were studying architecture. They also got a platform to learn a practical know-how. And we had female employees from a cement company, one of the companies that supported our project. So they were also there. So that way we mobilized women to really spearhead the construction of these classrooms, giving back to their community. And after the construction was completed, then we invited our children back to the project to work on decorating these classrooms. So this is their space. So in the art club that we started, and we've been working with them, and the discussion was on how can you decorate the classrooms, what are the images that those they sketched in paper and painted in their papers. So this was the time now to put on the wall. So what we did, we invited students who are studying fine art from the University of Dar es Salaam to come with us and work with these kids so that they can transfer what they have in paper to put it on the wall. So we worked with them and the decorations, yeah, we love these classrooms. It's something completely new compared to other classrooms that you can find in the area, even in the country. So the key message is that they wanted to deliver using this space. Well, one was about love and caring, and the other one was about peace, and the other one was about caring for environment. So these are the topics that were preferred, and we helped them along to be able to make their dream come true. And for the project that what we had in mind and what we feel like we have achieved it to the great extent was that we wanted to have easy accessibility to all students who are going to use these classrooms. And more we wanted to achieve like comfortable interiors, so space, large windows, orientation of the building that could allow for wind in and out, and the aesthetic. So the students worked so hard to make beautiful interiors with their artwork, and minimum cost of construction. We also wanted it to demonstrate that you can build something nice with it at a lower cost, and community participation for us was a key issue in this project. This is one of the classrooms. So for now, what is this? We visited this school after a couple of months. I think it was after 6 months we went back, and we found it became like a landmark classrooms in that community. So you have students from different schools. Maybe they want to do like prep for national examination. This is the place where they're able to do it. And the material has been adopted in the school. They're now constructing a new structure, a new dormitory for the kids. They're using the same building material. So for us, we feel like we have demonstrated something that community could take up and continue with it. In the end, we use this same structure to send a big thank you and publicly acknowledge all the organizations and people who have funded this project. TAWAH as an organization, we do not have funds of saying we're going to go and build a project, but we act as a bridge from those who have the money and the organizations that are willing to support, and we connect with those who need that support. So we try to work hard and link the two, and hopefully we'll change our communities for the better. Another project that I'm interested to share today is house improvement of a traditional Maasai house. This project was funded by UNESCO, Tanzania, and the terms of reference that we were given is that we need to figure out on how we can create a more health and comfortable interiors, and how we can improve our durability of these houses. And from those two, the main thing that we were supposed to look at was the improving cooking stove, because at the moment the way it is now, they're cooking by using open fire stove, and how these Maasai huts, they do not have any windows. The only opening to the house is through the door, and so lighting, ventilation, and everything is expected to take place through the door. And construction process, they're using tree branches, reeds, mud, and cow dung. So that is the material that they use, and the reconstruction has to take place after a couple of years. And so durability was also another issue. We find leakage through the roof, leakage on the walls, and women who are the one who are affected the most, because they're the one who are building the houses. They're the one who stay in these houses while men are outside with their kettles. And with their health, it was a key issue that we needed to discuss with them. We also needed to improve their houses. When we went there, we also got like an eye opener. We learned from these women to understand how they build their houses. I think they have a lot of, I'll say, knowledge that is not taught in the classroom. But for them, is they're learning by doing it. So it's, for example, selection of building materials. What kind of wood do we need to build these classrooms? They're the one who would tell us that we normally use this, and this will survive as, for a number of years instead of using a certain type of tree branches. So we also learned a lot from them. So for us, I think the knowledge, the little knowledge that we had from the classroom that we added to them was more like building a cooking stove that will allow a smoke-free interior, so much more healthier interiors, and maybe leave some little openings because we can't leave large openings for with this type of construction. Even the climate can get extremely cold. So we wanted to leave small opening at the higher level so hot air can also be able to escape very easy. So we will show in the next slide that we have those holes, and there was some point they were covered with a handmade like woven sticks that used to cover those openings, I would call. So women were in charge mostly of this project, and some men would come and visit for a few days and just go. So we built, this is one of the model house that we completed, where we have now a cooking stove with the chimney where it can allow smoke to go, and small windows that are covered with a wooden cover that were weaved by the women. And for lighting, we opted for using, we called it solar lights, where we have a water bottle and we put like household bleach in there, and then we put the bottle on the ceiling, on the roof, that half of it is outside, half of it is inside, so the reflection of the sun will produce light interior. So that we found it's a low cost and it's easy even for them to do it on their own. At that time, the use of solar, when you talk about solar energy, buying the panels, much costly, is something that they could not afford. And another thing that we wanted to add on this project was the use of ferrocement. It took some time to be accepted, like adding cement and wire mesh. But after explaining the advantages, they could use those slopey areas to collect rainwater. So we added a roof of cement, not only for durability and reduce leakage through the roof, but also to be able to catch different corners you can catch, like the water falls during rain season. So these are the few things that we did on this project. But again, like I said earlier, training is the main component on what we are doing. So we normally had like a session. We had to have a session and talk about different issues. So for this case, we're talking about health interiors and how to take care of our houses and health and whatever we are producing, like whatever we are doing. So we focus more on the cooking stove and their health. So that's the topic that we had specifically for this. And it was published in 2013 in June. If you go to the World of Science Journal, volume 11, number 2, you will be able to read more about this project. It was published by UNESCO. And yeah, there are a lot of information that I think because of time I didn't really touch or talk much about it. Another project that is also, I'll call it a highlight project for our organization, is the affordable houses for flood victims in Dar es Salaam. They came a year, I think it rains, even a few months ago, it rained in Dar and everything stopped because of floods. So there is a flood problem in most part unplanned settlement in Dar es Salaam. So in 2012, yeah, it was to the extreme. So the people were moved from the flooded area to a new place outside Dar es Salaam. And in that place, they had to live in tents, the temporary shelters, for a while because these are it's a community that came from a low income area, low income. Most of them are low income earners from unplanned settlement. So given the tents, they were supplied by with food and all that, but they could not afford to build a house immediately after being given the plots. So it took a while, and the tents started to get old and fall apart. So as an organization, we saw this could also be an opportunity for us to go there and then try to demonstrate the cheapest way we believe or affordable way of building a house. We don't need to have millions of money up at the beginning to start with the construction. So we looked at the building materials that can be locally sourced. So for this case, that area is much more sandy area. It's not easy to get like clay soil, like the one we saw in Tanga. So we opted for sand, but you also add a little bit layer of cement, and these bricks, interlocking bricks, can be handmade, hand pressed machine. So the youth could engage themselves in producing these bricks. And for roofing, we use sisal tiles, sand sisal tiles. So it's material that you use to make roof tiles is for sand, cement, and sisal fibers. And that are also locally produced at the site. So we produce the material and teach them and talk about how you can save if from the design to cut down all these unnecessary corridors. And so we talked about incremental construction where you can start with one room and expand to the second, to the third, and things like that. And we were able to build 6 model houses based on the funding that we received from one of the funders in Dar es Salaam. So, and these 6 models were inaugurated we're proud that President came and inaugurated our houses, and they're now being used by the police because they had to establish a new police post in the area. And these 6 houses were given to the police so their presence can be felt at the site. So we had 3-bedroom houses and 2-bedroom houses. And if you look at the cost, because we invested heavily on the human resources, so we couldn't pay any skilled labor. We got them from the site. They volunteered, produced material at the site, locally resources that were there. We could cut the cost tremendously. So for them, these projects were more focused on self-help construction techniques, and hopefully they will pick it up and continue to build like this. But the challenge that we got on this project is it's in Dar es Salaam in the city, but when you start talking about material other than these corrugated metal roofs, it has to be maybe a good quality tile or something like that. But the tiles that we had, they work very well with the climate, and the sizes of it also reduce a lot of woodwork that goes to roofing using tiles. So it has some advantages, but the problem was more like acceptability of this material. It's still perceived that, oh, it's inferior material and things like that. So training, I think it's something that we really need to invest on. Another project that I wanted to touch today was about the girls' access to quality education. We designed and supervised the construction of a high school for girls in Kisarawe region, in Kisarawe village. And the reason they wanted a high school is because it became like a trend, or grades were declining, or girls mostly would just fail and not continue with their studies. Some would just drop out of school because of unplanned pregnancies or early marriages. And because of the long walk to school, some decide not to even go to school. And there are some very basic facilities like menstrual hygiene facilities in schools, they're not available. So you find girls would miss classes for a couple of days in a week or every month because of menstruation. So this is something that we wanted to consider in our design. So this is the whole school that we've designed. The key area that we focused on the orientation. We wanted all the buildings to consider east-west direction. And if we can't get east-west, then at least to be tilted in 45 degrees. And having single band design for cross ventilation and also zoning in such a way our girls will feel more safe. They will have space for extracurricular activities, and all the spaces, all the buildings, we wanted them to be connected. So every girl child with different disabilities, they should be able to move from one point to another. So issue of environmental sustainability were very, very, very key to us. We also wanted like wastewater treatment. We have the place for that where it can be recycled and reused. So at the moment we have 2 blocks of classrooms already completed, 1 dormitory and 1 teacher's housing, and I think a toilet block. So school is going to start this coming January in 2021, and phase 2 and 3 of the construction will continue. So this is one of the examples of, it tells a lot about all the buildings that we've designed. Orientation, like I said, was very important. And if you look at the classrooms, you also have like large roof overhang. This is when you design in a hot, humid climate. I think this is very important, where you want to shade all the walls from extreme heat and allow ventilation through the through these classrooms. So I would say it's a design feature that will be seen in all the buildings in this school. Accessibility, ramps were more preferred than staircases, so you find every building has that. And rainwater harvesting, that's also important to us. So the classrooms will just give you it will give you a bigger picture of all the buildings in the area, that how they are going to look like when it's completed. And in the issue or in the idea of collaboration with other or with the community, what we did in this project, we worked with the students, architecture and engineering students from Arif University and University of Dar es Salaam. And for them, I'll say this was also the first project that they've designed while they're still students and see it implemented in reality. So it also motivated them to continue or to see like, oh, things are happening in real world, and how architecture can be like amazing when you give your time to your community and see things are happening. So it's of the university students has been a very important factor in our work. And we now started the volunteer program. So what we're doing is we will have female students from different we advertise, they apply, then they will come and join us. So we work with them for 1 year. So if we have a project within that year, we engage them from design concept, from working with communities. Whenever they have time, they join. We prepare building bills of quantities. They prepare engineering drawings. We go to the site with them. So when we negotiate with the fundis, they will also be there and learn. So it's not only being like a learning platform for them, but it's an area where they give back to their communities as well. So what they will learn from the volunteer program for 1 year, and then they have a room or a choice to decide if they want to continue working with TAWAH and being members of TAWAH. So after 1 year, we ask them, those who wish to be members, they join us and we keep going. So normally we take 15 volunteers every year. and few of them will stay behind. Few of them maybe will get jobs somewhere else, then they cannot really participate in our projects. But we really encourage them to participate whenever they have time. In addition to volunteer program, we also started the mentoring program for graduate students. Architecture in Tanzania is perceived to be a more male-dominated field. But when you look at the female students, most of them graduate from architecture, but they go and do something else in the end. So we have students who have studied architecture for 5 years, and after graduating, I think they find it's very difficult to get in the industry. Then they will opt to study something else and do something completely different. So this is what we're trying to capture and help them get a smooth transition to the industry, where we we pair mentors and mentees, and they will work together for 1 year. And then after a year, when they graduate, we believe those who are mentored, they could also play or work as mentors to the other generation. So that way, we'll be supporting women in the industry. Hopefully, the industry will grow bigger. And it's our belief that if we have more women in the construction industry, and if they become and they care more about their communities, as mothers, I think we have a different way of looking at things. But if these women decide to go and support other women in different levels, then things will change, not only in architecture, but even in our communities at the very grassroots level. So this is what we see. And we're now starting to hear stories from this mentoring program, how one was able to get a job through her mentor, one was able to get like a project or something to do. They help each other like in a more very sisterhood level, and then in a very professional way to get to have more women in the market. So it's a program that I think we'll keep doing until God knows when. And when through that year, we have a number of sessions where we get together and talk about different issues. So we started dialogue with women in construction. We bring in women who are successful in the profession, in the industry, to come and talk. And that way they'll be acting as their role models, and the young graduate will also have something to look up to. So that is a way of, we feel like, improving ourselves. But to conclude, I wanted to say that all lives in this world should be lived with dignity. And as an architect, I think we have a duty or a major role to play to help communities, especially poor communities, to live in a more dignified way. My strong belief is that if poor communities have access to education, to adequate shelter, which when you look at it, it's a very fundamental human rights, as it is with the education, healthcare, and other rights. So if they have access to the adequate shelter, and that will give them a very strong foundation to improve their lives. Because if you sleep in a house or in a shelter, that you don't have to worry about leakage after a few hours. You don't have to worry about in unhealthy interiors. You won't be able to get sick. You don't have to worry about all those things the shelter will give you. So that is a foundation for them to channel minimum resources that they have to other things like education, to community income generative activities, to their health. And we as architects, I think we have a duty to provide that platform, to give them that foundation. And today, I would also open the door for you all if you wish to come in Tanzania, maybe get involved in any of the projects that we are doing. Please reach out. check our website and how we do things through this website, and you can reach out through this email. Again, thank you so much for having me. And I think when we talk about building beyond borders, we are not focusing on just physical borders. We are looking into more social, economic, income, all things that really separate people to enjoy and live live with dignity. Thank you.